Thank you. Good evening. My name is Carol Ann Tucker-Watt, and I'm here at the request of Ann Schafer. Okay. Innkeeper of the All-Seasons Groveland Inn, better known to many of us as Grandma Simmons' house, on this, the 10th anniversary of the inn. I am entitling my speech tonight, Margaret Agnes Lennan Coyle Simmons, or Up the Family Tree and Out on a Limb, or The facts are few, but the legends are legion. Let me say how grateful I am not to be addressing the Genealogical Society. Okay, many years ago I worked for the Social Security Administration as a claims authorizer. We worked on the principle of oldest and best evidence. With that in mind, I'm going to use the letter from Kitty Coyle James to her niece Edna Coyle Argyle, dated May 25th, 1939, as my primary source. Kitty says, Matthew Coyle, born in Ireland in 1838, died January 22nd, 1867. Margaret Coyle Simmons, born in Ireland, came to New York when she was very young. Her mother passed away, so her uncle and aunt brought her to New York with them. She married Matthew Coyle in New York. Her first baby was a girl born premature, died at birth. Her next child was Mary Ann Coyle, born in New York, October 13, 1861. Matthew Coyle came to California while Mary Ann was still a baby. He established a little house on Moccasin Creek and also took up a placer claim, then sent for Margaret and the baby. She arrived in California sometime in 1862. Walter Joseph Coyle, my great-grandfather, was born on August 15, 1863. She had another baby boy born in July 1864. He only lived a few days. They named him Charles. He was buried in the Catholic cemetery in Big Oak Flat. On August 29, 1865, Thomas Francis Coyle was born, and on December 26, 1866, Catherine Agnes Coyle was born. Matthew Coyle passed away on January 22, 1867, was buried in the Catholic Cemetery in Columbia, Tuolumne County. Sometime in May 1869, Margaret Coyle was married to Robert Simmons and moved to his ranch in Deer Flat. Robert Thomas Simmons was born on March 24, 1872. On January 7, 1876, Margaret Anna Simmons and Edward Francis Simmons were born. Edward passed away on May 4th. Thank you. Anne, I know it was you. May 4th, 1877. Elizabeth Simmons was born on May 27, 1877. Kitty continues on, but that's the part of the letter which pertains to Margaret and how she came to be here in Groveland with her many children. I would like to now add some information on Robert Simmons. I believe this information came from Lennon Lane Guild, granddaughter of Margaret and Robert Simmons. She says, Robert T. Simmons, Sr. was born on December 13, 1820 in Virginia. He came to California and operated a roadhouse close to Yosemite Junction in Tuolumne County. February 20th, 1869, a group of which Robert T. Simmons was road superintendent were granted a franchise to operate the Big Oak Flat and Yosemite Turnpike Road Company. Mr. Simmons was also a director of the company. The company was granted a franchise to operate a toll road for 50 years from Chinese Camp to Crocker's Station. According to your local historian, Bonnie Stevens, Robert Simmons died in 1892. Bonnie states, in the census of June 15, 1900, Margaret, again widowed, was living with her son Robert Simmons at Deer Flat. Later that year, she would move into Groveland into what we now know as the Margaret Simmons house. The house first appeared on the Tuolumne County tax rolls in 1900 and was built for Margaret by her sons Walter and Thomas Coyle. Owner of the house is listed as Robert Simmons, so it is likely that he financed its construction. The Big Oak Flat Groveland Historic Site Survey form prepared by Mark V. Thornton in February 1988 states that the architectural style is transitional neoclassical to craftsman. This house is a T-shaped frame, two-story building with simple gable roofs. The front door, located at the bottom of the T, has a large pane over paired panels and is flanked by 1/1 2-sash windows. The front porch wraps around the bottom of the T and features chamfered posts with decorative brackets and turned spindles. The building has pier and post foundation, V-groove siding, 1/1 aluminum framed 2-sash windows, and a wood shingle roof. Although this house was renovated in recent years, it still maintains its historic charm. A cedar tree, decorative well, and manicured lawn add warmth to this now converted house-to-office building. Supervisor Thornton goes on to say, the house, first listed in the 1900 tax assessor's rolls, is one of the 3 distinctive two-story homes built along Main Street at the turn of the century. This building is believed to have been designed and built by Edward Cobden. Working with Cobden were carpenters Tom and Walter Coyle, my great-grandfather again, and Edwin and Charles Harper. The homes reflect the dignity and prosperity of their owners and were constructed during Groveland's hard rock mining boom. Margaret Simmons' son, Robert T. Simmons, served as county supervisor in the 1930s. Although renovated, this house still maintains a high degree of integrity and appears to qualify for singular or historic district recognition. When this survey was made, the building housed the Yosemite Title Company. I heard that it was also a Sunday school room at one point. It seems to have originally been built as a combination family home and boarding house. In 1905, Margaret's granddaughter, Lennan Lane, was born in the home. Margaret's obituary notes that she often boarded the school teachers of the Groveland School and always treated them with uniform courtesy. My notes also mention that some of the boarders were workers on the Hetch Hetchy Railroad. This may sound like a far different type of boarder than the school teachers, but it must be noted that one of those workers was Margaret's grandson, Walter Edmund Coyle. Margaret Coyle Simmons died on January 24, 1929, at the age of 90 years and 2 days. Ann asked me what my favorite story was about Grandma Simmons, and I said it had to be the one I heard from Jack Jenkins, the previous innkeeper. He said he was told by Gladys Gordon, a granddaughter of Margaret, that her coffin was laid out right there in the parlor by the window. Now, I can't pass through the parlor without forming a mental image of my great-great-grandmother's coffin. It might not be just the Groveland Hotel that has a resident ghost. Margaret's children continued to stay in the home after her death. In a very recent letter, Edna's daughter-in-law, Helen Argall, says, I stayed in that house in 1938 with Aunt Elizabeth and Aunt Kitty. I believe Blanche and Lennon were also there. Homer went to the ranch and spent the night with Walter and Mary and their baby Frances Louise. I was in the front bedroom after you got up the front stairs to the right, first room. I remember they cooked breakfast on a wood stove. The last of Margaret's children, Robert Simmons and Elizabeth Simmons Schafer, died in the 1950s. Strangely enough, they both died the same day, September 12, 1952. Robert in Tuolumne County and Elizabeth in Mariposa County. It was probably at this point that the house passed out of family hands and was turned into various businesses, culminating with the All-Seasons Groveland Inn, where, once again, family members can rest their heads in Grandma Simmons' house. You can stop.